Welcome to the Tackling College Sports Podcast, the definitive resource to help you navigate your way to play college-level sports. Here are your hosts, Chris Legates and Mark Franco, where they want you, the TCS Nation, to be your best.
Welcome, TCS Nation, and thanks for tuning in to the Tackling College Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Franco, and alongside me is my Creature Double feature missing co-host, Chris Legates. How are you, Chris?
Hey, good morning. Mark, we're very fortunate today. I'm not going to tell you his name quite yet, but I will tell you his accolades. He's the winningest coach in program history. He has a record of 234 and 85. He's directed this program to a pair of national runner-up finishes in 2009 and 2013. Ranked 7th all-time in NCAA tournament winning percentage, and he became the second coach in NCAA history to take a team to the national championship game in 2009 after just 2 seasons as a head coach. I could go on and on. We only have a limited amount of time with him, and we thank you for his time. Louisville women's basketball coach, Jeff Walz. Coach, how are you? Good morning.
I'm doing great, guys, and yourself?
Thanks for having us. And
doing really well.
And really for spending the time. It's been, I'm sure it's a busy time as you prepare for your Western Kentucky game on Sunday. But we're really thrilled that you spent some time with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, Jeff, I want to thank you for answering the tweet to you. Twitter has been our best friend for obtaining podcast guests, so I do appreciate that. So is it okay if I'm going to play a very short clip. Let's just tackle that first, and then we'll get your take and how things have been going for you since the press conference several days ago. So bear with me 1 second here.
We just live right now the generation of kids that are coming through. Everybody gets a damn trophy. Okay? You finish last, you come home with a trophy. You kidding me? I mean, what's that teaching kids? It's okay to lose. And unfortunately, it's our society. It's what we're building for. And it's not just in basketball, it's in life. You know, everybody thinks they should get a job. Everybody thinks they should get a good job. No, that's not the way it works. But unfortunately, that's what we are preparing for. Because you finish 5th, you walk home with this nice trophy, parents are all excited. No. I mean, not to be too blunt, but you're a loser. Like, we're losers. We got beat. So you lost. There is no trophy for us. But unfortunately, the way these kids are brought up today, there is a trophy. Because nobody wants anybody to have hard feelings. Nobody wants to get their feelings hurt. Well, unfortunately, in the real world, I'm not sure how it is with your all's jobs. But with mine, if you lose enough, you get fired.
Coach, it's been several days since that Maryland post-game press conference. Your face is everywhere. I think at last count, I swear I saw 18 million views on that clip. As you were standing there speaking to the press, did you think your words would have this type of impact and be part of the news cycle this long?
No, it was never intended for that. And I know a lot of the clips get cut off, and towards the end, I take sole responsibility for the loss. I take sole responsibility of trying to get these young women to compete at the highest level in everything they do. But no, I never dreamed that it would get to where it is. I've received hundreds of emails, pro and con, which is great. We live in a wonderful country that we get the opportunity to voice our opinion.
Right.
So you might not like my opinion. That's okay, but it's mine. And I will say, I think I've heard a lot more pros than cons. And I think it's really sparked some conversation that I never dreamed it would.
Chris, go ahead.
When you think about how those last couple of days have gone, and we talk about the education of student athletes, and we look back now on, you and I are very similar in age and graduation and things of that nature, Jeff. When we look back on it right now, how have student athletes changed, do you think, in the years from you being one at Western Kentucky and then to where you are, Northern Kentucky, and to where you are now coaching players that were our age at one time as well? How have you seen the student athlete change?
Well, I think we've desensitized so many things. We're so worried about just being honest being upfront and honest. I'll take myself, for example. I went to Northern Kentucky University on a basketball scholarship, a Division II program. And, I thought, hey, okay, yeah, I'm going to be able to play here. This is great. And after about 2 years, I realized that, you know what, I could shoot the basketball. I felt as well as about anybody, but the good Lord did not bless me with much foot speed. And I was an absolute liability at the defensive end of the floor. And, I played for a coach that was great, very encouraging, positive, kept telling me, hey, keep working, you'll play. But at the same time, I wish he would have been honest with me and said, Jeff, you can shoot the basketball, but you can't guard anybody. And you're a liability for us at that end, so it's really going to be tough for you to play, because then I could make my own judgment of what do I want to do, And it's okay to sit there and say, you know what, I've maybe gotten in over my head. I might need to step down to a different level in play. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think today nobody wants to hurt anybody's feelings.
Right.
You go to summer tournaments, and a friend of mine that used to coach, he's a Hall of Fame coach for women's basketball, told me, he called me when this came out, and he said, the thing that people don't realize is there used to be a loser's bracket. Right. Now there's the right side of the bracket and the left side of the bracket. Because nobody wants to be classified as playing in the loser's bracket. 100%. And, I think at times, if you want to be great, you're going to fail at something. You're going to fail several times, but it's how you take that and how you're going to move forward. And, it doesn't mean you're a loser in life. And, guys, that's one thing I've probably got the most criticism from is, like, you say you're a loser. I'm a loser of that game. When you lose, at the end of the day, there's a winner and a loser on the scoreboard if you're playing a game. Mm-hmm. If I lose the game, yes, I'm a loser of that game. It doesn't mean I'm a loser in life. It doesn't mean I'm a loser as a person. But I've lost. So now I've got to figure out, how am I going to get better at my craft so I can become a winner?
Right. Jeff, I just keep thinking about this. Do you think the way things are going now on some of the campuses, and it just conjures up some of what's happened, and I won't get political on this, but post-election, we kept seeing in the news that universities, and I'm sure Louisville did not do this, but putting out Play-Doh, having therapy dogs, and test optional. We had that up here in Connecticut, and I don't know, but I've got a daughter who's going to be entering college in the fall. And I got to tell you, I was telling Chris, I'd have a very hard time making that tuition payment to an institution that was providing and really handling themselves that way.
No, I can understand your viewpoint on that. Because after a loss, especially as a student athlete, you might have an exam the next day. Well, I don't think you get to walk in and say, hey, I don't want to take this exam. We got beat last night.
Yeah, my feelings are hurt from getting beat.
So you've got to just figure it out. You've got to sit there and go, hey, things didn't turn out the way we wanted them to, but now I've got to move forward. And I agree with you guys. It's rather shocking, and it was a crazy presidential election. There's no question about it.
Right.
It was fascinating to watch from both sides of it, but there's a winner and a loser. And then if you get beat, if your candidate gets beat, to not have to take a test the next day is a little shocking to me, because everything's not going to be perfect in life.
Right. Yeah, there was a real quick funny story. I have a local college university on my Twitter feed.
Yeah, right.
And this is during the height of it. The election had just ended, and they had tweeted out that something to the effect that they just had a symposium, title of which was Trump. I'm sort of paraphrasing. Trump is president. Now what? And I was reading that, and I said, wow, I wonder if they had an opposite, where Hillary's president. Now what? And I called them out on it. I sent a tweet, and they actually answered, and they said, no, we've had this in place for months. and it went back and forth. They just stopped. I know that they weren't telling me the truth. It's just amazing, to me anyway, what's going on in the institutions, and I'm not sure where the blame comes from, and I'm not sure where the blame comes from with this participation trophy. I mean, it's like these are our kids, at least for me, my kids that have been dealing with this, and I'd love to know where the genesis. I ask parents all the time, and I don't have an answer.
No, I can understand that. I have a 9-year-old son that has participated in youth leagues, which are great. At a certain age, when they're first starting,
sure,
and you want to give a completion certificate. I've got a 3-year-old little daughter who is in gymnastics class, and she completed her first 4 weeks of gymnastics, and they gave her a completion certificate, which she was elated.
Right.
I mean, she was so excited about that. I think that's great.
Right.
It's
good
fantastic.
encouragement. Yeah.
Yes, it's good. It's very good encouragement. But when you start getting up to 7, 8 years old, 9, and you don't keep score during a soccer game, you don't keep score at a basketball game. And I've asked, why at different places when I go watch events. Well, we want everybody to have a great experience. You know what? I completely understand that. But then when I'm studying for a spelling test on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday with my son, on Thursday, he gets a grade on Monday.
That's right.
He gets that grade back, and it's not the same as everybody else's.
Right.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with that because, if he does well, it's the reward for studying. It's the reward for preparation. And if he doesn't, then he's got to, I've got to do a little more next time. I've got to put more time into it. And if he takes my spelling abilities, he's going to have to study a lot. I wasn't a good speller.
Right.
There's some people do it easier, but you know what? I could play basketball pretty well.
Right.
Yeah.
So my thing is, it's okay for some kids to have success on the athletic court, the athletic field, because that might give me success then to hopefully prepare better in the classroom.
Sure.
Not everybody's good at everything.
Right. It seems like it's the mixed message that is perhaps what we're against, if you will. I don't know if that's too strong of a term, but it just doesn't seem like you're preparing, especially when you, as you point out, when you start getting into the older ages. Perhaps you're going into middle school and into high school. Things just don't work that way. As the end of that clip pointed out, what happens to someone like you if you have continually have losing seasons? You're going to find yourself looking for a job.
Well, and I'm not sure how you got, I've got 2 older brothers, a younger sister. We're all married with kids. And, when we all get together for the holidays, we'll sit down and play, some cards.
Right.
Yep.
And it gets competitive now.
Right.
And that's with the grandkids, the nieces and the nephews. I mean, nobody wants to lose.
Yeah.
And believe me, I mean, if you get out first, everybody's reminding you that you were the first one out. So then you're ready to get back going. Let's play again. Let's play again.
It's healthy competition.
Yes, it doesn't matter if it's tic-tac-toe.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with competition. There's nothing wrong with a winner and a loser. It doesn't mean you're a loser in life.
Right.
We were speaking.
Go
ahead, Jeff. We were speaking before, and before we came on the air, and I was talking about coaching with you a little bit as well. I love sitting down with a recruit and getting to know them because I want to know, do they want to win? Is winning important? If they were playing a game of checkers against a 5-year-old, do they want to win? And, that mentality, and is one of the questions I was going to ask you, do you think right now there are too many games? An AAU program, a premier soccer program, are kids playing too many games, Jeff, so that the value of a game doesn't quite matter as much as it used to? And I'll just piggyback on that. You've had a week in between games from an emotional win against Kentucky. You're going to go play on Sunday against Western Kentucky. So now you've had a week. There must be a great build-up for this game that now comes Sunday, it's everything you've got to win this game, especially knowing that you came up short against them last year as well. Is that true?
No, I agree with you. That's one thing that we've talked about, my staff, we talk about, And I understand why it's gotten to where it is, because, when you talk about summer tournaments, we didn't travel 20 years ago, 25 years ago, all over the country playing. You went down to your regional tournament, then you went to your state tournament, and it was 2 and out. You played your first game. If you got beat, you went to the losers bracket, and you might be playing 2 games a day to try to work your way back to where you get to play, hopefully in the finals. And then you're going to have to beat somebody twice in order to win it. But if you lose your first 2 games, you're heading home. You're back in the car. You're driving home. Well, with the amount of traveling that's done, and I know it's just not for basketball, but soccer and volleyball, if you're going to spend $4,000 or $5,000 to take a team to a tournament, the last thing you want to do is go to one where you're just only going to be guaranteed 2 games. But I do agree with you that the fact of, you play 3 games in a day, you lose your first 2 by 20, and you win your last one by 5. Everybody feels good.
Right.
I won. Well, you're 1-2. So I do think playing too many games can desensitize the importance of each game.
And I got to think your kids are chomping at the bit after the big win last week and having a week in between, which is probably not your normal routine and schedule, but having that week in between must have allowed for a lot of good prep time for you as a coach, and obviously a lot of time for this game to increase in meaning for the players as well.
Oh yes, there's no question about it. Our players had a chance to take a day off, and we've had a chance to get back to the drawing board and really try to clean some things up per se as a team at the offensive end and defensive end, and it's not normal because we'll actually play on Sunday against Western Kentucky, then we play on Wednesday here at home against South Dakota State, then we play on Friday, then we play Sunday. And then we're at Vanderbilt on Wednesday the following week, the 21st.
Wow.
So there's not much practice time in between. Now, the kids love it, because everybody loves to play games.
Right. Games,
but
sure.
This is the week that as coaches we love, because we get the chance to get back to teaching and competing and hopefully get better as a basketball club.
Mark.
Excellent. Jeff, we're going to sort of take this back towards our listeners, which are, of course, student athletes looking to continue their athletic career in college. But before we do that, can you perhaps go over some of the toughest challenges that you've had in your career?
For me, I'll be completely honest. The hardest thing that I'm still working to overcome is my stuttering. I've been a stutterer my entire life. I've gotten much, much better with speaking to the media on the air with you guys here. Every once in a while I will, but I'd say 15, 20 years ago, if you had told me that I'd be the head coach of a Division I BCS program, just a division, it doesn't matter, the head coach of any program and have to do media responsibilities, I would have told you were crazy.
Yeah.
Because I was always worried about what everybody would think.
Yeah,
and
I had really quickly. I did watch an interview you did. I think it was a local TV, it's a local personality, maybe a year or so ago, and where you went in depth about the stuttering, and I think you spent 7 or 8 years in sort of a speech therapy type.
Yes,
it was very impressive.
So for me, that's probably been the toughest challenge that I've had, and my advice to anyone is don't ever let anybody tell you what you can and cannot do.
Yeah.
Because I was told several times, you're not going to be able to do that. Let's look at something else. And then I've just learned it's what makes me unique. It's what the good Lord gave me.
Right.
It makes me different, and I don't worry about it. I tell my players and I tell recruits, I said, hey, when I'm talking to you on the phone, don't think I'm like a teacher. When you go to school and a teacher repeats something, you definitely write it down because it's probably going to be on the test. When I'm repeating it, it's just by accident. It's not on purpose.
It's got to be a great icebreaker too.
Oh gosh, it's fantastic. And it is what it is. And it's because I've accepted that, it's made it easier for me to do things like this. And that's probably my biggest challenge.
Yeah, I'm far from a speech expert, but it seems to me like with anything you're trying to overcome, with the acceptance part, probably allows you to move past it much quicker.
No, it does. And you know what? It really helps you get thick skin. I had the opportunity to be on the radio yesterday with Tiki Barber. And, of course, I got some tweets from people. I can tell you're lying because you're stuttering. You're not, we can
That's
see,
how the
yeah,
wife,
that's your tell.
Right through it.
that's how the wife
We can
knows.
see right through you because when you get nervous, people stutter.
Yeah.
And I want, which I don't reply back to people like that, but
Sure.
I wanted to be like, man, you've got me.
So if the wife asks you to take out the garbage and there's maybe an issue and you stutter a little bit, she'll know that you didn't take the garbage out.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
She probably knows to tell more than anyone. That's right.
Jeff, our podcast, like we mentioned, is geared towards that student athlete that's looking to make the jump and possibly become a college athlete. And again, there's various levels as we talk about. And sometimes even the player's perception of what the level is that they can play at is sometimes skewed. But what advice would you give to student athletes who are looking to continue their career at the college level?
I think the big thing is really to be able to look yourself in the mirror. It's just when you said you ask your recruits, do you want to win? I think the next question that I ask is, do you know what it takes to win? Because that's the biggest challenge. When you look at it, if you want to play at the BCS level, I don't care what sport it is, you're good as a high school player, or you want to be recruited by these programs, these universities. But there's a lot more you have to give if you want to be able to be successful. And I tell people all the time, be able to look in the mirror and figure out what you want out of that college experience. Do you want to be the best player on the team? And if that's what you want, that's great. Just make sure then you find that place that you can do that. And I think it's really important for not only parents but student athletes to do their homework. Figure out, am I a good fit for this program? Do they not only want me, but do they need me? I think that's something that gets lost in the translation. Well, yeah, they really want me. They want me, but they already have 3 people that play my same position. So do they really need me? Right. Those are the things that I would look at if I had to do it all over again.
And the little things, Jeff, when you talk about it, what are the things you're looking for that are in a recruit, in a student athlete? Are there influences that don't show up, let's say, on a stat sheet or in a highlight video that you maybe can only by getting to know them ascertain from them?
Well, the one thing I really try to look for, and I'm trying to do a better job, is I'm looking for personality. I love personality. If you're a dud, it's hard for me to coach you. Like I want somebody that's got a little something to them. If I'm telling them get out there and guard somebody, get into them, like, and then you come up with a steal, I want you to point at me. I got you, coach. Right. Like, I want that confidence. I don't want arrogance. And I tell my kids all the time, there's a fine line between being confident and being arrogant.
Yeah,
sure.
And you have to be able to run that fine line, because if you don't have confidence, whoever you're playing against, they're going to sense that, especially the good teams, and they're going to go at you. So I look for that. I love personality. I love players that can look me in the eye when I'm talking to them. I honestly, when we're visiting on home visits and visiting with recruits, I like watching how they react to their parents. Because I think it's important. I mean, to show the proper respect, to know, okay, this is mom, this is dad, this is who's helped me get where I am today. I want to see that, a young student athlete appreciates what, their parent or guardian has done for them.
Sure.
Right. The sacrifices they've made for them and what kind of foundation they've built around them.
Yes.
Coach, would you say that your national final teams had a swag or a confidence about them?
We did for sure. The other thing, that are two teams that went to the national championship game. They believed in themselves, and this is, I tell my teams all the time. They held each other accountable. They weren't worried about what I said. If you missed a box out, and I'm over there going, you got to box out. You got to box out. Sure, they would make eye contact with me, but they were apologizing to the other 4 players on the floor. I let you down. That's my fault. Instead of worrying about what I was saying. And when you get to that point as a team where the teammates, if I get beat to the basket, I'm looking at you because you're over there playing great weak side defense and you're guarding your man. And I'm like, hey, that's my fault. It won't happen again. That's when I know, okay, we have a chance to be great. Mm-hmm. Is when they care for each other. And that's what those two teams did. Our team in 2014, when we lost in the Elite Eight, had that same quality. And like I said, it's not all about the great teams. We the team here in 2010 that went 14-18. Right. And we had 6 players that were injured, and 5 of them were very key players. But I'll tell you, that 14-18 team was one of the most enjoyable years of coaching that I've ever had. Right. For the fact that I had a walk-on that was our starting point guard. Wow. And, I mean, these kids gave it everything they had. We were in games with top 10 teams and getting beat by 6 and 7 that we should have been getting beat by 30. Right. But they competed, and they fought. Now, at the end of the day, were we losers? Yes, we lost the game. But you know what? They were winners with how they handled things. Sure. And that was what really impressed me the most.
I'm sure somewhere along the line, Coach, you've probably seen the Nick Nolte Blue Chips movie in your career somewhere. And he says yes. that in one of my favorite movies of all time. And I've totally concur with what you're saying. But somewhere in the middle of it, he says, we were 15-16, but God, they gave me everything, And sometimes your best coaching jobs are on teams that you're not raising banners with.
Yeah, there's no question about that. There's no question. And, at the end of the day, this is what I try to tell my players, and I truly mean it. I love every single one of them. And I just want them to strive for greatness. And it doesn't mean you're going to be a millionaire. It doesn't mean you're going to, be CEO of a company. But no matter what your job is, I want them to be great at it. Mm-hmm. I want them to take pride. Growing up, I had a grass cutting business in high school and college. After I quit playing college, I went back to my grass cutting business. And I'll tell you, I cut my friends' yards. I cut my friends' parents' yards. Like, I took great pride in cutting a straight line. and I mean, and everybody laughs. I mean, I'm telling you.
Hey, I still do. I still do.
Oh, that's perfect. When I left your house, I mean, I took pride in the work I did. And that's just, and I think that's what you're supposed to do. It doesn't matter what your job is, what you do, take pride in it and want to be great at it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to instill that in the players that we have here at Louisville.
Well said.
And this is a great segue, Coach, to my next question, and I really appreciate that answer as well. The little things, and we talk about that, foundationally, how the little things will build up. Are student athletes spending enough time on their own, working on their game, becoming students of the game, doing the little things in maybe less structured environments without their shooting coach, without their trainer, without their nutritionist? Do you think kids in this generation are spending enough time with the little things?
Well, I think there's a lot that can be learned from watching the game. And that's one thing that I've really challenged my current players with and the players I've had in the past. Is don't be afraid to watch basketball at night. Turn on a game. But then, like I always tell them, don't watch LeBron. Because what LeBron does, we can't do. Right. Watch that kid, watch that player that's made the NBA or, is on a college team that is like, how in the world is he getting done what he's gotten done? Watch how they use a ball screen. Watch how they're patient with the basketball. Watch how they set themselves up. Like if you had told me today that J.J. Redick could still be playing in the NBA,
yeah, right,
and not just playing, but I mean he's pretty darn good. Sure. I would have told you were crazy. But I watch him on TV, in games, and I'm telling you, he uses ball screens and he comes off the screens as good as any player that I've seen. He sets them up. He's patient with it. The small things of the game. It's not necessarily I drive baseline reverse dunk, because he's not doing that.
No.
But, he's figured out, okay, this is what I have to do to be great. This is what I'm going to do to be able to continue to play in this league. And he does it. So I do talk to our kids about that, and you do have to be able to just get in the gym on your own sometimes and just work on just shooting the basketball fundamentals. It's not all about, getting out there and playing games. It's sometimes work on you. And then when you get better, our team gets better.
It's awesome. Coach,
makes perfect sense.
These have been the easy questions. I am now going to throw it over to Mark to the part where now many coaches have folded under this line of questioning. They get it full sweats. They have to get towels. This is the getting to know you portion of the interview, Coach.
And we have a great intro for this. You ready?
Getting to know you. Getting to know all about you.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Andrews. Jeff, if we were to search your phone, what would be the top 3 played songs or artists?
Top 3 played artists, you'd probably go with George Strait.
Great.
Neil Diamond.
Wow, okay.
Oh, yeah. He's one of my favorites. And then just the best of the 80s.
Oh, okay.
Love that.
Yeah.
Number 2, who is the most famous or infamous person you have in your contact list?
Oh, most famous this person, my contact list. Boy, that's some good ones there. Wow. I've been fortunate to coach here at Louisville. So Coach Pitino's in my contact list, and being a Hall of Famer, I think that's pretty impressive there in its own. So I'll go with Coach Pitino.
Well, Mark and I are gigantic Knick fans, so we look at him as our coach of the Knicks at one time as well, not just at Louisville. Right. So
that's right. Question number 3. Do you have a favorite quote or quotes that you like to use?
We don't. One of my favorite basketball ones I use with my players is a simple, don't be cute, just execute.
Oh, I like that.
I like that.
It's simple and sweet. Every once in a while that behind the back pass might be needed, but if a simple bounce pass is going to get the job done, let's just make sure we get the job done. So don't be cute, just execute.
Let's go simple. Yeah, love it. Number 4, can you give the listeners a little known fact about yourself?
Little known fact about myself. I stutter. I'm red, green, brown colorblind.
Me too.
Oh yeah. So thank goodness my wife picks out my outfits, or it would not be a good thing.
You'd be walking around like George Clinton.
That's right. And I answer my own phone, and I answer all my own emails.
And I can attest to that.
If you email me, I email you back. A lot of people, they'll put their phone number at the bottom of it. I'll call them back. And it's rather entertaining when you make a phone call and all of a sudden you've gotten an email. Somebody's not very happy, and I can't believe you did this or did that. And then you call them, and all of a sudden their tune changes.
Right.
Hey, thanks so much for calling, but I have learned, and that's one thing is, you can spend 5 minutes on the phone and eliminate what could turn into a week-long problem.
That's right. Handle it yourself. Yep.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned your wardrobe, Coach. I have to jump in here for a second. I did see an interview with you where you said if you got Coach Pitino kind of money, you would change your wardrobe around. Now, would that mean you would have to have him go shopping with you?
Hey, I could not do that. You know what? I am who I am. I am a collared shirt, sleeves rolled up. That's the way I've been. So it wouldn't matter the type of money that I made. This is who I am. Now I will say, if you ever go out looking for dress shirts, it is hard to find red dress shirts.
Right.
Oh yeah,
It's always a shade of blue. There's
Yeah.
always a shade of blue, and being here in Kentucky, that's not the color you want to be wearing. If
That's
you're,
right.
If you're
That's
the
right.
Louisville, if you're the Louisville coach.
Okay, question number 5. Who has been your biggest influence?
My biggest influence, personally, would be my parents and my family.
Okay.
I've got two older brothers that were very competitive. My sister, actually, her basketball shoes and jersey are up there in Springfield in the Hall of Fame.
That's where I live.
If you ever go to the high school section of the Basketball Hall of Fame, they've got the sections of different states. They've got the Indiana and the Kentucky because it's one state championship.
Yep.
And her basketball shoes and jersey are in there.
Now you did. If correct me if I'm wrong. You started sort of your coaching career, and she was an integral part of that, was she not?
She sure was. I first started coaching 7th grade girls basketball. Once I retired from college playing, I started to coach 7th grade girls, and then I coached my sister for 2 summers in AAU basketball. And that's how I got my start.
Wow. If you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would you choose?
Wow, there's a list of people that I could go through.
It'd be a full table.
Golly, it sure would be.
I know it's a tough
sure
question.
Would be. No, you know what? If I could have dinner with somebody right now, I'd love to have dinner with President Obama.
Okay.
Right now, just to ask his experiences and how the past 8 years have been for him, because I could only imagine what it's been like. And then there's lots of basketball minds that I would love to sit down with, retired and still coaching. But my first one I would say would be President Obama for sure.
Perfect. Okay, if you weren't coaching, what do you think you would be doing at this point in your career?
I'd be teaching high school. My family's full of educators. My dad taught for 30 plus years. My brother is a principal at a elementary, a middle school. My sister is the head of the business department at the high school that we all went to at Fort Thomas Highlands in northern Kentucky.
Oh, wow.
And that's what I would do. And she's also the girls basketball coach there. So I'd be in education, teaching and coaching.
Awesome.
Wow. And last and final question. Do you have any web-based sites or tools that you rely on or enjoy using, either for work or personal use?
My wife and I, we use In Touch Ministries for our daily devotion that we do.
Okay.
But then everything else, it's so nice to be able to Google whatever you might need. I just had to fix my outside timers on my lights because the electric went out, and I had no manual. I've got no manual. I can't find it, and I'm like, I can just Google it.
No manual equals Google.
You bet. And I got those things fixed in about 20 minutes. So I was really proud of myself this morning.
Yeah, I'll take a step further. I'll go to YouTube so I get the video.
That's right. Yes.
Well done on that section.
You did it, Coach. I'll tell you what, a lot of times we've had to end the conversations and people need a drink or they need some oxygen, but you handled the hot seat pretty well.
Well, I was just glad you guys did not ask me what the last book was I've read.
Listen,
that used to be a question.
That is funny you bring that up because that was a staple in the Getting to Know You section, and the answers were always
we don't read.
Does a magazine count?
Hey, about one thing for you, I was waiting for it because I was like, it's going to be Peppa the Pig or Daniel Tiger's Adventures.
Yeah, it's going to be a kid's book, right?
Yes.
Coach, I'm going to bring it back on topic for 1 second. I typically usually ask one more question, but I've had such a great experience speaking with you today. So I have to ask you a couple different questions before I wrap my portion of it up. You had an opportunity to work with the U.S. national basketball teams at the youth levels. What's it like when you get to represent your country as a coach?
Yeah, it was amazing. It's one of those things when you get the opportunity, you get the invite. It's like, I couldn't believe I got the phone call and was asked to be an assistant coach. It was such an honor. Carol Callan, who runs the women's USA basketball, is she is so organized and does everything first class. Everybody looks the same. Mm-hmm. If you stand out by how you play. You don't stand out by what you wear. You don't stand out, by your actions off the floor. You stand out by how you play. And then you're competing for a gold medal. Right. It's what you're doing. Your ultimate goal is to win a gold medal. And I was just really so impressed. And I can see why the women's national team has had so much success. Because Carol is just an amazing manager of the program and people. So I was honored to be asked to do it. Would say yes in a heartbeat if I was asked again. And when you're standing there, when the national anthem is being played, when they've awarded the gold medals, it's quite an experience. Yeah. It's breathtaking.
That's why I had to ask you that, because when we have opportunities that we've interviewed people who've been in the Olympics or coached Olympians or been part of their national team programs, it's something to me that has to be so emotional on so many levels.
It sure is.
Another quick question for you I have to ask you is, how did the players react to this at the end of 18 million views? They've probably have heard it from you before, but in a sense, you've become even more of a celebrity than you have been before. What was the players' reaction to the message, and what's it been like the last week or so since this has been national news?
Well, I mean, the players know me. The players know I love them, and I think that's the one thing that I laugh at also is when I get emails, there's no way I could play for you. You threw me under the bus, threw them this and that. No, my players know I love them, and I'll do anything for them. And they're part of my family. I treat them like they're my own kids. And, I expect my own kids to give it everything they have. So they were good with it. They actually, at the press conference after the Kentucky game, Maisha Hines-Allen was, agreed, was like, Coach was right with what he said. We didn't give the amount of effort that we needed to. We know we can do better. And they know I'm not attacking them personally. I'm challenging them to be great. So there's not been an issue with that. And this, like I said, I never intended it to get where it got. I've got a friend in California, high school friend that called me the other day that's like, I don't check Facebook, but every 2 or 3 weeks. And all of a sudden I get this thing that I look down and it's been viewed by 16 million people. And his response to me was like, why would 16 million people want to look at your ugly face?
That's a true friend.
And I'm like, I agree with you. I agree. So yeah, it is a true friend. There's no question about it. But it's been neat because I've heard from Hall of Fame men's coaches that are currently coaching. I've heard from Hall of Fame women's players and coaches, and they've all been, you're spot on. This is exactly what's taking place, and we need to somehow figure out a way, to get this changed, because competition is not a bad thing.
Right.
It's okay to lose as long as you learn from it.
And I think it's not just from an athletic standpoint. We've seen parents who have agreed with what you're saying. We've seen politicians agree with what you're saying. So you don't have to be an athlete or a student athlete or a coach to go through this right now. But your message resonates with people that are out of the athletic realm.
Yeah, transcend sports, certainly.
Well, I've had a lot of business owners also send me emails talking about staff and hiring people. I tell people all the time, I've had three openings here in my 10 years. I've had 3 assistant coaches that have moved on to be head coaches. And if you email me about the job, call me, I call you back. And it's just, and maybe I'm different, but it amazes me how many people within the first 5 minutes of a conversation asking about a job and this and that will ask me what the job pays.
What's it pay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm not interested in it. Yeah. It's what do you want to do? to get the job first. And then, and I understand if we've been talking for 2 or 3 times and really getting in depth and, and I've never brought up a salary range, that's bad on my part. But within the first 5 minutes of a conversation, I was always taught, try to get the job first before you ask what the job's paying.
Yeah, let me tell you what I could do to help your program.
Yes. Now that's just in any line of work. Now
right.
That's just how I was brought. So I've always been a little shocked when somebody asked me in the first 5 minutes, well, what's this job pay?
Yeah.
Because then I know right then, like, okay, what's their real motivation? Just to see how much they can make or to help us become great?
My final question, Coach, for you, and again, we appreciate the time that you've taken today, and I know you're so busy getting ready for the big game, which we wish you a lot of luck on Sunday as well. What advice do you have for parents of student athletes, Jeff, and what do you think their role in the recruiting process should be?
I think their role is very important. I hear different spectrums of it. Hey, I'm not, this is up to my daughter because I coach women. It's my daughter's decision. Whatever she wants, I'm happy for. Okay? And then I've heard it from the other end where they control the entire thing. I think it's important to be in the middle. This is the most important decision they're going to make at this point in time in their lives for most of them. I'd say for 90%. And I think it's good for parents to give them guidance. I have 3 daughters and a son, and if either of the 4 have the opportunity to participate in college athletics, I think our jobs as parents is to help them through the process, let them come up with 4 or 5 schools, 3 schools that they feel good about, they've researched, and then as parents, I think it's like, okay, you know what? Any 4 of those you decide to go to, I'm going to be happy with. And I think that's our job. And then I'm going to let my daughter or my son make the final decision. But I'm going to help them hopefully get down to those 3 or 4, or at least give my advice of which ones. So I think parents should play a vital role in helping in the recruiting process.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Well said. Okay, Coach, we're just about wrapping up out of time here. I'll let you get back to your busy schedule. Before we do you have any final thoughts or parting words for our listeners?
No, I just appreciate the opportunity. Have really enjoyed it. No time did I ever expect my post-game remarks to get where they are, but I do not regret them. I stand behind what I said 100%.
Right.
But really appreciate everybody's opinion. Everybody's entitled to their own, and hopefully you'll continue to see our ball club continue to compete at the highest. It doesn't mean we're going to win every single game, but I hope their effort, as we say here, effort, energy, and enthusiasm. 3 E's. You bring those 3 E's to life, no matter what you're doing, there's a good chance you're going to have a lot more success than failure.
I'm sure you're going to have much continued success.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, anything that you wish to promote here today with us, and by all means, feel free to discuss I know you have a radio show as well.
Yeah. No, hey, I hope people get out and watch women's basketball.
There you go.
That's one thing I've always tried to do. I tell our fans we're fortunate enough to average close to 10,000 a night. And, go out to your local college, watch a women's basketball game. I promise you, if you haven't seen them play, they're probably better than what you think. It's amazing how talented these young women are and the amount of work that they put into it. So not just a women's basketball game, go out and support women's athletics at the high school and college level.
Yeah, great message. Yeah. And then lastly, Jeff, how can listeners get in touch with you, whether email, via web, or any social media?
My email address is online. It's Jeff at GoCards, CARDS, GoCards.com. If you go to our women's basketball homepage here at the University of Louisville, my email address is on there.
Okay. I'll make sure that I get all that info. I'll put, is it okay to add the Twitter account on there? I'll put it on the show notes. Is that,
Sure. No, that's fine.
Yeah, this way, as listeners go on, they also, what we do is the show notes gives a brief synopsis of what the interview's about, and then at the end we'll have those contact information for them if they so choose. So, Jeff, this has been 49 minutes of really a great time. We
Amazing.
Appreciate it. As I said early on, I'm glad you answered my tweet. Again, heartfelt thank you to you coming on. We do greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, good luck, Coach. Thank you.
I appreciate the time, guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks. And before we head out, TCS Nation, just know that you can get in contact with us on the web, on the interwebs, I should say, at tcsnation.com. There's a nice, lovely little pop-up that comes up. Enter your name. You will get the Friday 5, which is a weekly email of 5 items we're interested in or pondering. Email us if you want to get Chris. It's chris@tcsnation.com. If you want to email me, it's mark@tcsnation.com. And on Facebook, facebook.com/tackling college sports. Twitter at TCS Nation, and Instagram, TCS Nation. And until the next time, be your best.
Be your best.
Your college sports future awaits. So join the TCS Nation and be your best.